This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is Friday, the 3rd of November. My name is Nadia Osman and my sign language interpreter is Mr. Abdul Wahab. Now this is the Muslim Inside, the show that brings you your weekly news recap as well as the review of today's Friday bulletin. Before we give you the news for the week, first let's give you the headlines.
The future of our young boys and girls is extremely important to all of us.
Investing in education. Government to increase number of public schools in the country as the 844 education system comes to an end.
Nataka mjue hivi. Sisi kama Kenya tunaagiza chakula, tunalipa bilioni 500 kila mwaka.
Food security. Government to stop the importation of food items into the country as plans to double food production.
If I'm doing an exam and I want to go to Form 1 and you keep talking about not having money, then this child will wonder, so why should I work so hard if I cannot go to Form 1?
Exams stress. Psychologists urge parents to ease exam pressure on students during and after the national examinations.
Now on our top story, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, has said the government will be looking into ways of increasing public schools to ease the pressure being subjected to parents who cannot afford private school fees. Mudavadi said the number of public schools is far below the expected number to cater for the increasing school-going population in the country. Mudavadi, who was speaking at St. George's Primary School in Nairobi County during the monitoring of KCPE and KPSEA examinations, noted that striking a balance between the public and private sector will help improve the standards of education in the country.
Lauding the education stakeholders that have been involved in the preparation and administering of the 2023 national examinations, Mudavadi said this year's exams must uphold the highest standards of integrity and the results should give a reflection that is beyond reproach.
The future of our young boys and girls is extremely important to all of us, and therefore me coming here and the President being elsewhere and other leaders, we are actually partnering with the Department of Education to show that we all want the integrity of our exams to be upheld and to be beyond reproach.
Mudavadi said it is symbolic to see how the government is taking the education matter seriously, saying that under President William Ruto, the education sector has received immense support from the budgetary allocation.
If you look at it, the logistics that the teachers go through to make sure that all these exams are everywhere for these young people, just maybe the other institution that you can mirror is the logistics that the IEBC goes through. It's a very serious logistical undertaking. It's not simple at all.
A total of 1,202,574 candidates are sitting for grade 6 Kenya primary school education assessment examinations, with 1,415,315 candidates sitting for Kenya certificate of primary education. The examinations will mark the end of 844 education system in primary school. Reporting for Muslim Inside, I'm Lena Musel.
Thank you for that report, Lena. Now moving on, Kenya will escalate its relations with the United Kingdom to boost trade and investments. This is according to President William Ruto, who said the two countries share rich, steady and historical ties which must be explored for their shared interests.
The president noted that Kenya and the United Kingdom are keen on working together to broaden their cooperation in strategic areas, including defense, security, education, environmental conservation, and climate change. The president made the remarks on Tuesday during a one-on-one talk with His Majesty King Charles III at State House, Nairobi. Earlier, in the company of First Lady Rachel Ruto, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, and other leaders, the president welcomed their majesties as they began their tour of Kenya. It is Kenya where Queen Elizabeth II's reign began, having acceded to the throne in February 1952. The royal family, in a statement, noted that the visit is nostalgic and seeks to celebrate the warm relationship between the two countries. King Charles III is not a stranger to Kenya, having visited in 1971, 1977, 1978 and 1987. However, this is His Majesty's first visit to a Commonwealth nation as a king. Reporting for Muslim Insight, my name is Mariam Lanji.
Thank you for that report, Mariam. Now we move on, where President William Ruto has called on the farmers to help the government to stop the importation of food items into the country in 2 years' time. President Ruto regretted that the government was spending 500 billion Kenyan shillings every year to import food from other countries, yet such reserves can be produced locally. In this regard, the president argued that farmers should diversify and intensify on their farming methods to increase food production. He called on the farmers to double the production by using the right seeds and applying enough fertilizers, which will help contain food shortages in the country.
Nataka mjue hivi, sisi kama Kenya tunaagiza chakula, tunalipa bilioni 500 kila mwaka. Kuagiza mahindi, sukari, mafuta ya kupikia, edible oil, nini, bilioni 500. Na ni makosa sana, kwa sababu hiyo chakula yote ambayo tunatumia pesa zetu kununua kutoka kwa wakulima wengine, tunaweza kuzalisha hapa Kenya na tununue kutoka wakulima wetu. The farmers of our country are the greatest patriots of Kenya. Wanajitolea na bidii kwenda shambani. Na ndio sababu hiyo tumeweka mpango kwamba mbolea, najua bei ilikuwa imepanda sana, sasa tumeteremsha ikawa 3,500 mwaka uliopita ama mwaka huu mapema. Sasa kuanzia juzi tumesema 2,500. Tumetumia magunia milioni 4.5 kufikia sasa. Lakini kuanzia mwezi ujao tumepanga magunia milioni 7.5 ya mwaka ujao. Mimi niko na mambo mawili kwa wakulima wetu. Vile mumefanya bidii mwaka huu, mkaongeza karibu ekari 1,200 mpya kuzalisha chakula. Nataka muongeze tena mwaka ujao. Na mimi nataka ni wakulima wanisikize vizuri. Wakulima wengi wanatumia 50 kilos kwa eka moja. Najua mwaka hiyo imepita, average ya mahindi kwa gunia moja ni magunia 8. Average. Kuna wengine wanapata 5, na wengine wanapata 15, hapo hivi. Lakini average ni 8. Mwaka huu kwa sababu ya mbolea imeenda average 12. Lakini bado wakulima wengi walitumia 1 bag kwa eka moja. Na pengine wakapata half a bag ama eka ingine wakaweka top dressing. Mwaka ujao nataka kila mkulima atumie, instead of 50 kilos tuongeze ikuwe 100 kilos ya mbolea. Na hiyo top dressing muongeze tena, badala ya 25 kilos muongeze ikuwe 50 kilos. Mimi nataka average ya mahindi iende from 8 bags to 20 bags.
Thank you for that. Still, President William Ruto met leaders from Garissa, Wajir and Mandera counties at State House, Nairobi. The president assured the leaders that the government will put focus on education and livestock development to improve livelihoods in the region. He said the government will enhance security to allow business to thrive and that the region will not be marginalized. President William Ruto last week met with the leaders from Garissa, Wajir and Mandera counties. Drought, floods and security, poverty, hunger, lack of water, poor access to education and healthcare services and poor infrastructure are things that have become common within the region. The leaders were led by Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale.
This KMC, Your Excellency, has got, I think, a debt of about 600 million. They did a presentation to us the other day. Maybe the way we did also, we'll come and present to you, the way we did with the sugar, we also write off that debt and put it part of the privatization so that we get a strategic partner who has a market in the Middle East and who can buy our animals.
Your Excellency, on the national grid, a place like Wajir has been without power for the last, call it, you stood on Rehe ground 2 times, to the best of my recollection. You promised power. People of Wajir are still waiting for that power. Your Excellency, the grid, the national grid, ends in Garissa and also Garbatula. Is still not working. It's still a stopgap. Part of it, bado tuna ration, Your Excellency. Tunapiga ration. Iko ration, Wajir tunafanya ration. Bandi leo town. But Your Excellency, how to get rid of that is to extend the national grid from Garissa or Garbatula, whichever is cheaper, to Wajir, Mandera.
I want to ask all of you as leaders from Northern Kenya to work with me and work with this government so that we can deliver on the many issues that the people of Kenya expect us to deliver. To deliver on matters to do with infrastructure, mambo ya barabara tuko nazo, mambo ya maji mmesema, masomo ya watoto wetu, matibabu, ajira, all those things that we have an opportunity as leaders to do. Nimewasikiza kwa makini hasa kwa mambo ya elimu.
Thank you for that. Now moving on, clinical psychologist Riziki Ahmed has cautioned parents against the harmful effects of pressuring students during and after their exams. The psychologist highlighted the alarming reality that the stress associated with exams can potentially push candidates to the brink, leading to devastating suicide attempts. In an interview with the Muslim Insight, Riziki Ahmed, a leading expert in the field of psychology, issued a heartfelt appeal to prioritize the emotional well-being of the children during this crucial period. Riziki emphasized that it is essential for parents to be understanding, supportive and empathetic towards their children as they navigate the challenging waters of examinations.
We know that we are during the exam times. We have the year 6 who are doing their exams, and we also have the class 8 who are also doing their exams. These are very young students. They have been through a lot of pressure from their parents, and this is the time that now we need to reduce this pressure. We need to allow them to relax. Remember that we have what we call exam fever. Exam fever is actually caused by anxiety that comes with all the pressures that these students are going through, and they all want to perform very well. So we need to help them learn how to relax during this time. At this time, it's not the time to pressure them to study more, to read more. There's actually nothing much that they're going to study that is new that will help them in these exams. All what we help them is to browse, try and keep themselves healthy, avoid getting burnout, avoid getting anxiety, feeling highly stressed. We try and now distress them and bring their levels of stress very down. This is a time we need as parents to talk a lot of positivity into them, like encourage them in positive manner, tell them that whatever they have learned is what will come in their exams. Exams do not come from nowhere. They're from the curriculum, what they've been studying. So we need to encourage them to understand that that is what will come. And then we as parents are not doing the exams. And we're not the ones being examined. So we shouldn't feel like when these children are doing an exam, it's like we're the ones doing the exams, and then we are putting our pressure onto them, or because maybe we didn't do very well ourselves, we want them to be the ones to succeed. They are not going to lead our lives. Let's allow them to lead their lives. And then the teachers also, they have done their part. They have taught the children. They have taught them the exam techniques. They have taught them how to deal with exams. So let us allow them to do these exams without pressure. For one, after a paper, I don't advocate for children to start revising or going through that paper, because it will discourage them if they feel like they didn't answer correctly in the next paper. They won't go in as encouraged at this as they should have. So the discussions should not be happening, or going home and being asked, so what was the composition about? What did you write? No, you should not have wrote this, you should have thought this way. At times the kids get confused, they get sad, they even get now more anxious. And when we are anxious, we don't think. The minute we are very anxious, our mind goes into a state of not being able to process. Remember, we want them to retrieve what is in their memories. That's why they have been studying. If parents are having tensions, this is not the time to show those tensions, because it confuses these children. We try as much as we can and not have any tensions in the house at this time. This is not the time to talk about money issues, because if I'm doing an exam and I want to go to Form 1 and you keep talking about not having money, then this child will wonder, so why should I work so hard if I cannot go to Form 1? The other thing, we need to remind them that these exams do not define their future. They're just a step to their future. So they are not a defining factor. Like if you don't do very well in this exam, then you have no future. That is a false narrative. We need to encourage the children to know this is just a first step towards their future. It doesn't define their future. We have seen people who get like a grade C- in their O-levels, and yet they have PhDs, because they started from the very low, did their certificate, did a diploma, went ahead, did a degree, masters, and got their PhDs. So whatever somebody gets does not define who they are.
Very impactful and beautiful words from Dr. Ziki. Now we'll move on, where former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan is vouching for agricultural innovation to spur growth and mitigate against climate change. Speaking at the Safari Park Hotel, Nairobi, the former president said innovation was not an option but a necessity with an ever-increasing world population. In a keynote address during the African Conference on Agricultural Technologies, he said the move will also help bridge the production gap, with the continent fast-tracking the attainment of self-sufficiency in food production. The former head of state, who is heading a high-powered Nigerian delegation, was cognizant of the fact that small-scale farmers were the majority within the African continent. He called upon researchers to ensure that these farmers were equipped with the requisite knowledge, resources, including finances, and also allow some of them to be innovative. Dr. Jonathan called upon the delegates to harness the full potential in the agricultural sector, arguing that the continent's food security was dependent on a vibrant industry. He reminded participants that 60% of the world's arable land was in Africa, yet the continent was still grappling with food insecurity.
They have demonstrated to us how various organizations are helping smallholder farmers. That's where we need technically is the collaboration between groups, like the people who demonstrated the issue of these tractors. It's difficult for a farmer to go and own a tractor, but then they have created a forum where a cluster of farmers in a particular community, one tractor can move there at the same time, they pay very little, and it does the work. And those who have been able to make money, you can pay as small as 5%, and you pay weekly after that. So yes, getting bulk sum for farming is difficult. Even commercial, because of the risk involved, banks hardly lend money to farmers because of the risk involved. We don't insure our farms, so they pull away.
Thank you for that. Now, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia Mohammed bin Salman has said Kenya is a pillar of stability and growth in Africa, and that Saudi Arabia will use Kenya as a platform to broaden its wings into Africa. The Crown Prince noted that Saudi Arabia was committed to pushing for more investments in Kenya. He said that particular focus will be paid on the renewable energy sector. He spoke last week at the King Abdulaziz International Conference Center in Riyadh, where he held talks with the President William Ruto. Arabia Mohammed bin Salman has said Kenya is a pillar of stability and growth in Africa, and that Saudi Arabia will use Kenya as a platform to broaden its wings. President Ruto said Africa has made progress in economic growth, regional cooperation and democratization. However, he regretted that insecurity, violence and terrorism risk is slowing the advancement. The president called for a lasting solution to help Africa progress. He called for more cooperation from the globe to tame the crisis. In particular, the president urged Saudi Arabia to step forward to make Africa more peaceful because of the shared vision. The two leaders discussed approaches to advancing farming in Kenya to increase food production. Well, that report brings us to the end of our first part of the show. We're going to go on a short break, but we are coming back with more, so do not go anywhere.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين إذا أنفقوا لم يسرفوا ولم يقتروا وكان بين ذلك قواما والذين لا يدعون مع الله إلها آخر ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ولا يزنون ومن يفعل ذلك يلقى أثاما.
Katika kipindi kijacho,
hifdhul lisan, kuhifadhi ulimi wako, usizungumze ya urongo, usizungumze maneno yasiyokuhusu, usizungumze maneno ya kutia fitina, ukawa maneno yako wazungumza maneno ya khair, maneno ya ukweli, na ikiwa hauna basi ni bora unyamaze. Na ukahifadhi uchi wako, usiupeleke isipokuwa pale palipo na halali wewe, pa halali yako.
on the next episode.
Kuna watu wengine yake kwa sababu ya imani, kwa sababu siwezi sema ni imani, zingine ni uzunde Sheikh. Iwatembea na mke wake barabarani yuko kilomita 1, mke yuko nyuma. Watu watatuona tukitembea pamoja bana. So mke wako halal Sheikh. You should be proud of her. Yule ndiye halali yako ya. Wewe waenda kilomita 1 ila hadi usiku mmojifinika nguo moja. Mwili wako waujua mwanzo mpaka mwisho. Wewe waujua mwili wake. So to have fun ni jambo recommended katika Uislamu. Na ndoa nyingi ndio zidumu. We should have fun. Kuchekeshana, kuenjoyana, kwenda picnic pamoja, kwenda kwa malls pamoja, kwenda dinner pamoja, but kuwe chini ya sheria. Isiwe ni zile dinner zetu zaenda tumevaa dinner dress, mke wako amvaa kijimini skirt kidogo, mafua kititi chote kemiachanisho nje, nywele ameacha nje. Leo nsikia out bwana mimi na wife.
Pearls of Wisdom.
Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, O Allah, I take refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, weakness and laziness, miserliness and cowardice, the burden of debts, and from being overpowered by men.
La kutafakari.
Ni haramu kumwoa mwanamke ambaye ni mushrika. Ni haramu. Kadhalika ni haramu kumwozesha binti yako Muislamu mwanamume ambaye ni mushrik. Na leo suala hili watu wanalifanyia tasahul. Utamkuta Muislamu au binti wa Kiislamu ameolewa na baniani, au ameolewa na Myahudi, au ameolewa na Mnasara kwa sababu ya masalih duniawia, na wengine huolewa na Mashia.
La kutafakari. La kutafakari.
Ushaionea ladha ya ile imani ulionayo, ama ni kudai tu kwamba mimi ni Muislamu? Vipi wewe ni Muislamu? Angalia jina langu, mimi ni Muislamu. Angalia mimi naingia msikitini kuswali na Waislamu. Angalia mimi nafanya kadhaa na kadhaa. Sio hiyo mizani ya ladhatul iman. Sasa mizani ametokea Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam ya kwanza, an yakuna Allahu wa rasuluhu ahabba ilayhi mimma siwahuma, ni kwamba awe Allah jalla jalalu na mtume wake sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hawa wawili ndio unaowapenda zaidi kuliko kitu kingine chochote.
La kutafakari. La kutafakari.
Allah tabaraka wa taala atuambia katika hii hadithi al-Quds, ewe mwanadamu, lau umekutana nami biqurabil ardi, ay ma yuqaribu al-ard, na madhambi ambayo yanaulinganishwa na udongo wa ardhini. Biqurabil ardi khataya, si madhambi madogo haya, madhambi mengi. Kisha ukawa haukunishirikisha mimi na chochote, laqituka biqurabiha maghfira, niko tayari kukusamehe wewe yale madhambi yako yale, nitayageuza yatakuwa ni msamaha. Lakini kinyume chake nini? Lau umefanya a'mali nyingi kisha ukamshirikisha Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah hazitaki.
La kutafakari. Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. Now, the conversation today is all about Jamia Mosque's Open Day, which will be happening, Jamia Mosque's 5th Open Day, which will be happening tomorrow from 8 a.m. And joining me in studio to discuss that is none other than Ustadha Aisha. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran for allowing. I know this is a very good time to be in bed right now with the cold and everything. Yeah. But alhamdulillah. And the discussion for today will be all about opening up our mosques, you know. And the theme for tomorrow's open day is understanding Islam in the modern world. What do you have to tell us about, what do you have to, sorry to confuse, it's the other weekend. What do you have to say about the theme when they say understanding Islam in the modern world?
Understanding Islam?
Yeah.
In the modern world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Islam has surpassed 1,400 years.
Yes.
So there is no day Islam has been seen as an uncivilized religion.
Mm-hmm.
It has always been up to whatever civilization
mm-hmm.
that we are at
mm-hmm.
right now. If you look at Islam and you look at the modern world today, Islam
mm-hmm.
is at par.
Yeah.
Be it financially, be it economically, mentally, socially, however it is, Islam is at par.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding Islam for the people who live in our world today
mm-hmm.
is crucial, because with the misunderstanding and the misinformation that is being given to people about Islam,
mm-hmm.
it is crucial for us now to give that information about Islam
mm-hmm.
in our modern world.
Ustadha, when we look at the previous open day that happened at Jamia Mosque, people came in with questions, and that's, you know, it brought about better understanding. What do you have to say about what this open days do?
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. If
mm-hmm.
there's a platform that has brought people into Islam, it's the social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
Social media has brought millions of people to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you look right now what is happening in Palestine and Gaza,
yes,
it has brought more and more people into Islam, because people are inquisitive about
yes.
what really is Islam, what kind of faith is giving people this kind of resilience.
Mm-hmm.
And so when somebody intends to become a Muslim and has fallen in love with Islam through the social media,
mm-hmm.
the next thing is to give shahada, is
yes.
they want to do their shahada. So the first question is, where is my nearest mosque for me to give out my shahada, and
mm-hmm.
to say my shahada?
Mm-hmm.
And so now you see, that's where now the mosque becomes important,
mm-hmm.
where people now come in and you give them the proper understanding of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's very crucial to have people in the mosque who of course have the knowledge
mm-hmm.
to welcome these people in the mosque, and also have knowledge, like interfaith knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
They have the knowledge of Islam, and now they also have the knowledge of this other religion,
yeah.
so that they can have a better understanding of this person that is coming into
mm-hmm.
the mosque to give the shahada or to learn more about Islam.
Ustadha, you know, they usually say everybody is an ambassador of Islam when they go out there. What can you tell people who probably, if you're not near a mosque, as a Muslim out there, how is it important that we look at what Jamia Mosque and other masjids are doing, and also be ready to answer questions if there are any?
It's very important,
mm-hmm.
because if you look at people who are coming into the mosque to give their shahada,
mm-hmm.
they've either, I've told you, it's social media, or it's somebody who has brought them into Islam.
Mm-hmm.
For me, for example, when I used to be at Masjid Salam, the women who used to come take shahada,
mm-hmm.
some of them were the women who the house helps in the homes. So you see, the woman who this lady who wants to give shahada has been working for portrayed the best image of Islam to her,
mm-hmm.
and so she wants to become a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
So at workplace or in any other place, we have to bring the best image of Islam,
mm-hmm.
so that when somebody sees you, sees this is Islam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ustadha, you've been talking about majority of some of the Muslims who are accepting Islam. are sometimes house helps who come to the masjid and say they want to take the shahada. And that clearly tells that for somebody who is working for you, or for somebody who's working under you, for them to see your actions, for them to live with you, to ask themselves, okay, what is it that these people are, what religion is teaching them to be good people? That clearly shows that you are genuinely a good person. For somebody to look at you and also say, you know what, I want to follow their religion. So that clearly says that if you want to be an ambassador of Islam, if you want people to follow Islam, you genuinely have to be a good person.
Not just a good person, you have to show, Shufi, the deen of Islam is khuluq. In Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said very clearly that inni bu'ithtu liutammima makarim al-akhlaq. Indeed, I was brought down to you to teach you the best of manners. So the image of Islam, I mean, Islam is, people learn Islam from the way your akhlaq.
Yeah.
So your character shows what Islam is all about. And so you can, unaweza kuona, somebody doesn't have to go and learn Quran from first page till the last page to know what Islam is. It is enough for somebody to just look at you. Now, and they will say, if this is Islam, wacha ikae.
Yeah.
Na kama hii ndio Islam mimi nimependa. And I've come across this a lot of times when we're on the dawah field. People have come Muslims because of what we have done for them. Yeah.
Ustadha, let's talk about misconceptions of what people who are not Muslims think about Islam to be. What are some of the misconceptions you've come across?
Okay, okay. First and foremost, let me tell you, if there's something I'm very passionate about when it comes to teaching Islam, is teaching the rivets. I have taught rivets for as long as I know myself in Dawah. And so rivets are the one people that nimefundisha na nikaona matunda ya kazi yangu. And the misconception that I learn from them when they become Muslims, they tell me, Ustadha, first mimi nilikuwa najuaga hii ni dini ya majini. Because the way the scholars, or rather the sheikhs of the deen, wale ambao wanataka, not scholars, but kuna hawa mashekh ambao wanasomea watu ruqya, alafu unajua the ruqya ina turn sasa inakuwa ni kitu ingine. People tend to look at it like hii ni ile dini ya majini. Another misconception is that Islam inamgandamiza, yani a Muslim woman does not get her rights.
Yes.
So that is one of the fears. They say, if I become a Muslim, I will not have a right for this and that. Actually, when they become Muslims, they realize they have more rights in Islam than when they were not Muslims. And other ones, they say Islam is a very strict religion. Lazima nivae hijab, lazima ufanye hivi. So it's very strictly religion. But when they come into Islam, they realize as long as you have the faith, abiding by the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes very easy.
Very beautiful. Ustadha, you've talked about teaching rivets for so long. Most of the things that happen when we have this open days is people revert to Islam. What's your advice to institution when it comes to rivetees?
Rivetees are one of the rivetees are gifts. They're a gift to this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are people who have come from kufr to iman. I remember there's a lady who tells me in fact, she tells me this a lot. She tells me, Ustadha, you don't know how it feels to be a kafir. You know, one day I was a kafir. And so it's true. Like, these are people who have seen kufr, they have seen shirk, and now they're coming into iman. So these are very sensitive human beings. These are people who have left their homes for Islam. They have left their families for Islam. They have left their belief for Islam. Imagine loving Jesus all your life, and then now you have to love Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the same as you used to love Jesus, and even more, put Rasul even above all this. And so what I say is, when these people come to you, just receive them with ultimate respect and not just anybody should receive a non-Muslim into the mosque. The person receiving these people should be highly knowledgeable, a person ule akona ilmu ya interfaith, vile nilisema, ni mtu ambaye akhlaki yake akona very high moral of akhlaq, a person who is very humble, a person who is very understanding. Because remember, this person has left so much to come into this religion. So Yeah, I can say that.
Ustadha, let's talk about the roles of religious institutions, not just mosques, but the religious institutions in general. What role do they play in building bridges and promoting interfaith relationships?
They play the biggest role. Though the social media has surpassed them, I always say, but they play a very big role. Masjids should open their doors for people to come in and learn about Islam. They should have open libraries. They should have open discussions, open halaqas for people who are ready to learn this deen. The moment these people get to learn about the deen, they should have ongoing classes for them. What we are seeing is that an open day is done. 50 people become Muslims, and then these 50 people don't know where they have gone. And it recurs a lot. That's what happened with even this and what do you call Islamic Dawah organization. They will tell you, we've brought, this month we have brought 600 people into Islam. For instance, okay, how are 600 umewapeleka wapi? Umewafundisha nini? Umewafanyia nini? Remember, these people have left their homes, they have left. Yani, hao watu kitambo wakuja wakubali hao ni Waislamu wamepitia mingi sana. Another thing mimi naweza kukwambia through my experience working for Masjid Salam is we need support groups. Support group should be there. The people who became into Islam, watu ambao labda umekuwa Muslim for the past 20 years, and you know how difficult it used to be. So you bring these experienced revertees, they are the ones who are going to welcome the new revertees. And so they go with them through the journey of Islam, because it's always difficult in the beginning. And there in the beginning is where you need the utmost support. So I really, really, really insist on having a support group in the mosque. And also there should be open discussions. Another thing, halaqa, a lot of ilm, classes for the revertees.
Ustadha, when we look at Jamia Mosque having open days, I know other masjids have had their open days as well. Share for a story, a success story from probably this open days.
Open days, kwanza ni kitu mpya kwetu. As you said, it's modern.
Yes.
Yeah, we never used to have non-Muslim coming into the mosque. And so now we have them. It's such a beautiful thing. For me, I remember there was a lady who came into the mosque and you know, she removed her shoes. And she was walking on the carpet, and she felt an overwhelming power. She was telling me, nasikia kama nimezungukwa na the angels, like the malaika have surrounded me. It feels so peaceful to be here. She felt so peaceful that she did not want to know. Alikuwa hataki kujua Islam or anything. She just put herself in one corner. As a Christian, they pray through kneeling, right?
Yes.
And so she knelt and she was praying and she was praying, and she said, I've never felt so fulfilled as a believer of God the way I feel so fulfilled with the mosque. And after that, we gave her, of course, you know, you tell her Islam is this, Islam is that, Islam is this and that. And actually she did her own research, so she came for her shahada. And she took her as her shahada. Others are, when I have counselors, they come to the mosque. Counselors who are not Muslims, wakikuja kuongea na Waislamu, maybe on mental health and all that, utapata tu they're telling me that, Ustadha, I don't know, but I just feel like I'm in the right place, being just in this, you know, this surrounding of the mosque.
Ustadha, when we look at not just open days, we've also had street dawahs where people go ground and they spread dawah. Are these some of the similar? Should open days should mosques have open days, but also go on the ground and spread Islam?
Yes. Street dawah is very important. We have other organizations doing it, bringing people into Islam. Street dawah is very effective, and again we say that street dawah have to have people who are knowledgeable with the street dawah, and also you have to understand the people of Nairobi. Unajua? And we have seen street dawah working very well, people coming into Islam. But at the end of the day, there must be some coordination whereby if somebody takes the shahada, ni wapi anapelekwa. Unanipata? So, open day, okay, the way you have saying, street dawah can be an extension to open days. Yes. And for example, kama Jamia Mosque, me what I can advise is always have like a desk outside Jamia Mosque. And then just put something, imeandikwa, ask me about Islam. Unanipata? Ask me about Islam. And there's a constant person who is there with pamphlets about Islam. Anauliza about Islam. Yes. On a daily basis. You will be so shocked how many people will not just become Muslim, but will have a better understanding of Islam.
That's very beautiful, Ustadha. I like the idea of ask me about Islam.
Yes, and I wanted to add that open days should not be in the mosque alone. It should be in hospitals. Remember, there are more people becoming Muslims in hospitals more than any other place, because hapo ndo watu wanajua Mungu ni nani. I know of a scenario whereby I was being told that somebody alimona mgonjwa aliona mwenzake anasomea dua ruqya 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 mpaka akapona, akasema kama hii dini imemponesha pia mimi nataka hii dini. So you see, lazima iko kwa kwa hospitals, prisons, open days lazima iko kwa prisons. Prisons, because a lot of people are becoming Muslims there. On any other public places, unaona? In hospital, I know of a man who used to have an open day kwa corporate business yake mwenyewe. At the end of the year, he'll call all his employees who are not Muslims and just have an open day whereby now, come, let's discuss Islam. Come and learn about Islam. Yes. So open day should not be excluded only to the mosque, but anywhere else that you have a chance to showcase Islam to people.
Very beautiful, Ustadha. I love, like, people probably had no idea that hospitals, people were reverting to Islam a lot in hospitals. Subhanallah. Ustadha, let's talk about the River Teas program that Jamia has. What would you advise when it comes to other institutions? How important is it to have such, you know, educative programs? Or
yes. Okay, first and foremost, what we've learned from the previous conference is that somebody, the moment you become a Muslim, you're a new Muslim. You've reverted into Islam, you're a Muslim. Now you've become a Muslim. So I think the word rivati pia inawafanya wakae excluded, like they're not part of the Muslim Ummah. Yeah. So from now henceforth, we were saying that we just address all of them as Muslims.
Yes.
Okay. So these Muslims, or the new Muslims that we have, what I want other mosques to realize that they live in Kenya, and the vast majority of Kenyan population are not Muslims. Though the statistics we have as Muslims, like we are almost at par right now because of the birth rate we have and the people coming into Islam ni wengi sana. But what I can say, mosques that have yani mosque wafungue rivati programs hata kama ni 2 hours in a day, because remember hawa ni wafanyikazi wa nyumba, labda ni gardener, labda ni CEO of somewhere, unajua yani ni watu ambao wanafanya kazi on their daily basis, but at the end of the day they want to learn about Islam. Give rivatis a space in each and every mosques. They deserve it, because these are the people who, if they are given the right knowledge and they are given the right attention, they are the people who will hold the values of Islam to an extent that no Muslim can. Rivatis are who have brought Islam to where it is today, because they are more passionate about Islam, they love Islam, they care about Islam, because they understand the gift of Islam, the gift of Iman, the gift of Ihsan. Hao ndo wanajua, hao ndo wanaelewa. Sasa tusipowapatia hiyo chance, unaona wana backslide. Kitu nyingine pia nasema ni kuwa kuna watu wengine ambao wanawafanya Waislamu ambao ni mashia, for instance, I'm sorry to say, Shia and other Islamic sectors that are not on the path of Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaa. So usipomwelimisha kuna ule atamuelimisha.
Yes.
Yeah. Usipompatia the right nini, kuna wale ambao watampatia the wrong information. Yes. Alafu unaona mtu ana backslide anarudi kwa Islam. I have a very good scenario of a lady who is a boxer. In fact, she was telling me she played next to one of the famous boxers, and she told me she was a Muslim. And I was like, but mimi sikupata wa kunifundisha. Nenda kwa mosque wananiambia hakuna class somewhere in Nairobi. And sasa hiyo tu nikakuwa nasoma ile najua. Alafu tena nikakosa. Mimi nikarudi, nikaenda tu kwa kanisa kwa sababu huko ndo nilikuwa ninajua vile kunaombagwa. Unaona? So people are going back because they're not getting the chance, they're not getting the platform of learning their deen. So I would really insist, hata kama ni msikiti ya Kisomali, somewhere in Isili, 6th Street, wherever, they should just have a 2 hours Rivati program in their mosque.
Very, very good idea. Ustadha, when you talk about platforms, let's talk about social media. Because as you've mentioned, social media is even playing a bigger role than Open Days. How can mosques, you know, like some mosques have social media handles, some don't. How important is it that now we move into this, you know, we use the modern technologies to spread Islam?
It is crucial. It is very crucial that we get to hear our own sheikhs speaking on the social media. Again, I say, if we don't hear our own sheikh who are on the right track of the Quran and the Sunnah, we get to hear the false sheikhs, the ones that will misguide us. Hiyo ni kitu kwanza very crucial, mi nasemaga. So it's very important for these sheikhs now to move into social media, and also the mosques to move into social media so that they can give the authentic knowledge. The authentic knowledge is very crucial. Hiyo ni kwanza. Ya pili pia the audience. Unaona hao mavijana, mi kila siku naongea juu ya vijana. Unaona hao mayouth utawapata kwa hii gadget. They're on this gadget. Hakuna vile huyu youth atakukujia. Akikuja 5 times, huyo ni ule mashallah. Akikuja 5 times kwa msikiti, huyo ni ile mahadahumullah. Huyo ni hidayah Allah amempatia. Unajua, is very lucky. But utapata ule atakukujia mara 2 kwa siku, atakuja mara 1 kusali. So most of the time they're on the gadget. So you will find the youth on the gadget. You will talk to them through the social media handles. So I'd really like them to open. I've seen them opening up, but I would like to tell them open more up. And another thing is, don't shy away from subjects, the modern subjects that have to be tackled today, like LGBTQ. Mtu asione haya tena kuongelea hizi maneno. Tuliona haya ndo maana imetukuta, bali imetufika, imetukuta because we shied away from these topics. Let's talk openly about divorce. Let's talk openly about polygamy, like what our sisters did the other day. Let's talk openly about issues ambayo inatuhusu sisi kama Waislamu, openly on social media, so that people can learn. And people can, you know, watapata istifada from it and change them, inshallah.
SubhanAllah. Ustadha, we've talked in detail. I don't know if there's anything you'd love to add on before we close up. Any advice you'd like to give, especially to the Muslims, you know, just to remind ourselves that the Open Days on the 11th, inshallah, as I've been reminded. But also, what advice would you give us in general?
Mimi nitasema kila mtu ana represent Islam. Everybody in their own way. Na when you go out there, you don't know who is seeing you. You don't know. Mimi ukhti, there's somebody who came into Islam and told me, kama Islam ni wewe, mimi nataka kuwa Muislam. Unajua? And she was just a nobody. Yani si mtu wa maana. Mama tu wa kibarua. Akasema, mama, kama wewe Uislamu ni hii, mimi nataka hii dini. So ni nini aliona kwangu? Aliona tu character, aliona tu care, aliona tu something that haina maana, but to her it meant volumes. And so even anyone at workplace, you are representing Islam. Anyone, any mahali yote unaenda, especially our Muslim women, because I address them. You as a doctor, watch how you're dressing. You as a nurse, watch how you're dressing. You as a Muslim woman out there, watch how you're dressing and how you unajihandle, because you're portraying Islam. You're the ambassador of Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you. There are people who are hating Islam because of what has been done to them by Muslims. And there are people who love Islam because what has been done to them by Muslims. So at the end of the day, si lazima ukwe ustadha the way he said. Sisi hatuna ilmu wallahi. Ilmu yetu ni kidogo, lakini amali, yani actions ndio iko more. And so si lazima ukwe na ilmu kubwa. Your character ndio inafaa kuwa kubwa.
Very beautifully said, Ustadha. Thank you so
Barakallahu
much.
fiki.
It's something that even us we are reminding ourselves constantly, and it's very nice that, you know, to have someone like you who's worked on the ground, who's seen the impact of such events, you know, and how it's impacted the Muslims and non-Muslims as well. Ustadha, thank you so much for allowing me to have this conversation. And I think that brings us to the end of our show today. And just to remind the viewers, the Open Days on November 11th. Jamia Mosque's doors are always open for any questions, any queries, anything you love to have answered about Islam. Jamia Mosque Nairobi's doors are always open to everybody. There's a River Teas program in the masjid. There's also Ustadha Aisha that we have, to talk about new Muslims stories. I love how you said now we call them new Muslims. Their stories and basically their life stories and how they found Islam. So just to remind the viewers, there's so much that Horizon is also doing, and our doors are always open to hear your stories and to also air them on Horizon TV. I think that brings us to the end of our show today. Until next Friday, ma'as salam.